Hello everyone, this is SK and today I am bringing you a very unique video that holds many information about Bloodborne's development and how the story was changed drastically from what we have today. So first things first, let's just quickly establish what we already have in the lore and then start with what could have been. One of the main focuses in this video is going to be Lawrence, who founded the Healing Church and was the one who started the whole blood healing fiasco in Yharnam and what possibly started the entire story of the game. We know that he was close friends with Gehrman, and with all of the cut dialogues we got, this confirms it 100%. Now, to go back before even Bloodborne was released, there was a leak about the story of the game. Now, if you read it, you're gonna say that it is totally fake, but surprise surprise, this thing was very accurate, or at least for that time in the story. So what the leak was talking about shortly is basically that you have an incurable disease and you and your best friend, you find out about Yharnam and its blood ministration, and when you receive this blood transfusion you go into a coma and wake up after weeks in a mansion with a talking doll and your friend has disappeared. But there is a note there that says seek the blood of a sage. Now if you watched my unused dialogues video, you know that our character did indeed search for the blood of a sage, and this is what the cut NPC says in short.
The blood of a sage? I don't know nothing, Mub. Not a thing.
Now this is all the stuff we mostly know, but the new things is that I was able to find a huge text dump inside Bloodborne's files that dates way back to when the game had this original story, and there are so many different things, and the first major thing we need to talk about is Father Norbert, or Father Herbert in Japanese. Now I have to note that all of these dialogues were in Japanese and they were translated by a guy called Lokey, which was so amazing to agree to translate this amount of dialogues. I'm going to put his social media in the description, so make sure you go and support this guy. He really helped me a lot with making this video. There might be some small errors here and there, but the context is generally clear in these ones. Now back to Father Norbert, we didn't actually know much about him other than that he was supposed to be the head of the cathedral, and that's basically it. Many people speculate that it is actually this guy that I showcased in the first cut content video, which kind of makes sense in what he is wearing and how he looks like, but now we have more information about him. The first NPC dialogue we have is this. Hey, how do you do? My name's Mikolash. I was the head of this treatment church. Father Norbert was terrible, but you probably saved him. I'll say thanks as his replacement. Umbasa. Now first of all, Father Herbert is of course Father Norbert, but that's how they localized him in English. That's also evident from the files that we already seen before from the subtitles. Also, linking this with another context in the files of Bloodborne are cut items, which are basically what boss souls in Dark Souls are, but in Bloodborne, but here they are called living livers. So there's basically living livers for every boss, like for example the living liver of Father Gascoigne, the living liver of Vicar Emilia, and etc. And one of those is Father Norbert or Cleric Norbert. And since this old Mikolash says that we have probably saved him, it is hugely possible that Father Norbert is actually the cleric beast we fight in the game. This is super interesting because we have been trying to figure out who is the cleric beast for a really long time, and we thought first it was Lawrence, but it turns out he was a cleric beast, but the one we fought in the nightmare, but seems like the base game cleric beast is actually Father Norbert. So continuing with the dialogue. However, you are a magnificent hunter, and yet, I understand even without you saying it. You're probably captured in the nightmare to seek the blood of a sage. Ah, but so sad, the current me can't help you. I can teach you just one thing. Go to the university, head west from the plaza in front of the church, and there will be an ancient, abandoned university after coming out of the forest of snakes. The knowledge you seek will probably be there. The beast hunting still isn't over. Please be careful. Umbasa. So this is very close to what we got in the final game in terms of the lore, but seems like the links between Bloodborne and Demon Souls were much more than we thought. Also, the cut Mikolash audio I showcased before in these scripts, but in Japanese of course. Also, his dialogue codes are linked with the Cut Master Willem Fetch Me Eyes dialogues, so it might have been that Mikolash was actually Master Willem at first, as Master Willem's codename in these Japanese files is Mikorashu no Nokigara, which roughly translates to Mikolash's empty shell. There are a lot of weird stuff in the codenames for bosses and enemies, and I'm going to be covering these in a separate video. Now, the next part is where things get interesting. This is dialogue from another NPC. Ah, good, you awoke, right? But you shouldn't push yourself still. Your body still wouldn't be used to sleeping for a month since the operation, right? Besides, tonight's another night of beast hunting. You may not know since you're from the outside, but days like these are ones you don't go out and firmly cover your eyes, because if you do, it'll surely be the end of you. Now, this might be actually like he's talking about what the hunters and some of the clerics of the healing church do, which they cover their eyes, like Father Gascoigne for example. Now he or she continues to talk about being hungry and stuff, but this is where things take a strange turn. Ah, Mr. Lawrence, your friend, how did I forget about that? Mr. Lawrence went in search of a doctor for you. By now, that's talk of 2 weeks ago. But since the beast hunting began soon after that, I wonder if he hid himself somewhere. He will come back if the hunt ends. You've woken up, so he'll be very glad, since he had been awfully worried. Listen, you, don't overdo it so much. You woke up at great pain, so value your body. So here this confirms that Lawrence was actually that friend who accompanied us on our journey. Now, it seems like this dialogue is some sort of ending dialogue, as this is supposedly after we wake up from the nightmare, or something similar to that, but there is still gameplay because there is dialogue for that NPC dying, so I'm not sure on how this would have worked out, but maybe this prototype doll dialogue will give us some idea. Welcome, Mr. or Mrs. Diseased. This is a dream, a nightmare for the diseased. There is the will to be afflicted with the disease of madness, be on the verge of death and still live. Such is this nightmare that you visited. For you too, yes? That's why you wake up when you die, as if it was for sure a nightmare. Because madness, in other words, that sort of thing. So it seems like the concept of the hunter's dream was more of a nightmare thing and had some small different takes on what we have in today's lore, and it's not very clear here because the wordings of this aren't very, let's say, specific on this matter, so we can't know exactly what it is, but it's very interesting nonetheless. Next is an NPC which is supposedly linked with Old Yharnam. This town's already done for, it finally received retribution. Retribution that burned the valley town, burned the patients, burned my wife and children with the beasts. Ah, so pleasant. It's what you call the curse of the Holy Grail. Mwahahaha. Oh, I don't know how I'm supposed to imagine how this guy would have sounded like, but whatever, let's continue. Oh, still hear it yet? I see fire, I hear the sounds of burning. The nice smell of roasting meat. This town too will eventually share the same fate. The valley town's omen, the Holy Grail surely curses them, a huge curse of the ancient gods. I know it, the beasts of our valley town, they're for sure man's original form. It's for sure the work of the blood of the ancient gods. But why wasn't I chosen, only I, a human at the bottom of the well, at the bottom of the well? Don't trespass the grave of the Holy Grail. Blood relative, don't seek thine blood, don't seek thine blood. So this talks a little bit about the Holy Grail or the Holy Chalice found in Old Yharnam and how it was the curse of the old blood from the old gods, and I think here they mean the Thumerians that caused the ruckus in Old Yharnam and that it had to be burned down because of it. Now this is very close to what we got in Old Yharnam in terms of the lore, but there is about the Holy Chalice being the cause of the epidemic, and if you think about it, it makes sense because the old blood is what caused all of the beast plague and everything to be caused, and maybe the Holy Chalice that they retrieved from these old chalice dungeons from the Thumerians' hometowns, this might have been the first cause of the epidemic of the beasts. Now the next one is, I don't know if it's actually an alternate intro cutscene or an alternate Lawrence and Willem cutscene, because the context of this is basically the same thing, but the entire, let's say, format and the people talking, everything is very different. So let me just read it to you and let's talk about it after. They still exist, the filthy beasts. Lawrence went to say goodbye. Oh, I know, that damn traitor. How obstinate. But the adage not forgotten. You guys, if you all certainly desire the wisdom of the eyes, always fear blood. Well, this is a goodbye. Fear it, Ashton. Now, first of all, I don't know who is Ashton, basically. It's just maybe a testing name, but as you noticed, this is like basically the same conversation that happened between Willem and Lawrence about the adage and the old blood, but seems like this was between, let's say, the followers of Lawrence, I think, or maybe the followers of Master Willem. So maybe this was some sort of alternate cutscene that we were supposed to get that showed this, or maybe this is what the original cutscene, like how it was supposed to be played out, but they decided to change it just between Lawrence and Master Willem. Now there are still many more dialogues, like dialogues from a prototype Annalise, the Queen of the Vilebloods, and things like that, but there are some random things, but there are mostly some random things in dialogues, but there are still like very interesting things in these, so I'll be putting a link to them in the description so you can read them with ease. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I have to say this month was literally the best month in my life. We got to see so many things from Bloodborne, and I can't wait to cover the cut content of the Old Hunters DLC. So happy new year everyone, and happy holidays, and I'll be seeing you in the next video next year. Bye bye.